Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission of the City of Moreno Valley. I now call this meeting to order on August 22nd, 2019 at 7:04 p.m. May we now have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brugaris.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stephen.
Present.
Commissioner Harris.
Here.
Commissioner DeJournette.
Here.
Commissioner Corsick.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Baker.
Here.
Chairperson Sims.
Here. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Bergaris. Thank you. We are now going to move to the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
All right, let's have a second.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Do we have a vote? No, this is for tonight's agenda. We're waiting on Commissioner Stevens.
I don't show you as the seconder. Are you voting yes or no? Yes.
Oh, look at that. 6. Oh, wait a minute. I thought there were 7 of us up here. Oh, that's a way. How do we handle that?
You check your screen. I'll be right there.
Well, can we just do it with the 6 and have one, or do we,
I can restart the vote if you'd like, or
Yeah,
take a
let's
roll
try
call
that.
vote. Okay.
how we're all going to vote? Okay, can we have a first and a second for this?
Move accept.
Okay,
I'll second again.
right? So we have that correct on here, so let's everyone vote, please.
Try getting out of your vote and going back. Let's do a roll call vote, Chair.
There you go, that sounds really good.
Commissioner Brugaris.
Yes.
Commissioner Stephen.
Yes.
Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner DeJournette.
Yes.
Commissioner Corsick. Yes. Vice Chairperson Baker.
Yes.
Chairperson Sims.
Yes. So it sounds like the motion carries 7-0 on the roll call. So, okay, this is a statement regarding the public comments. Any person wishing to address the commission on any matter, either under the public comment section of the agenda or scheduled items or public hearings, must fill out a request to speak form available at the door. The completed form must be submitted to the secretary prior to the agenda item being called by the chairperson. In speaking to the commission, member of the public may be limited to 3 minutes per person, except for the applicant for entitlement. The commission may establish an overall time limit for comments on a particular agenda item. Members of the public must direct their questions to the chairperson of the commission and not to the other members of the commission, the applicant, the staff, or the audience. So the next item is public comments on any item not on agenda. So are there any speakers that'd like to address make a comment?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent calendar with, I don't think we have one, so do we have one? Oh, yeah. Oh, the Planning Commission minutes, okay, yeah. So, yeah, there's the minutes of July 11, 2019 for the regular meeting. I will be abstaining because I was absent, and I believe another one of our commissioners was. Okay, I have a motion if there's no edits or comments.
The minutes of the meeting of July 11th, as noted.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Please, let's try casting our votes.
I have mover now.
You've been promoted.
You know what? She's tied into me.
Why don't you guys just let me do the second?
Okay.
Oh,
Is
I'm
that
just
right? Or
saying.
can we do
Let's
that?
just do a roll call vote. It sounds like we're
Okay.
having some technical difficulties with
Right.
the system.
So go to the roll call for this item. So we have do we have a first and a second again? Ms. Corsick?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second.
Commissioner Brugaris? Commissioner Stephen?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner DeJarnay?
Yes.
Commissioner Corsick?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Yes.
Chairperson Sims?
Abstain. Okay, the next item is, well, there is no public hearing item, so the next item on the agenda is non-public hearing. Wait a minute here. This is, yeah, so non-public hearings, case number PEN 18-0140.
Thank you. And Chris Ormsby, our senior planner, will present the item.
Chair Sims and members of the Planning Commission. The proposal this evening is the adoption of the updated city procedures for the implementation of the California Environmental Quality Act, known as CEQA. The state CEQA guidelines in section 15022 require that local agencies adopt procedures that are consistent with CEQA. The update is an opportunity for the city to customize the guidelines to be consistent with the city's current development review process. The document before you is such a document, consistent with the CEQA guidelines, but customized for the city's review process. For example, the procedures include a customized list of projects that can be regarded as ministerial and categorically exempt, tailored to the city's processes. A major amendment by the state of the CEQA guidelines became effective earlier this year. The CEQA guidelines call for public agencies to revise their local implementing procedures within 120 days after the effective date of CEQA guideline amendments. The recommended update of the procedures will bring the city into compliance with the state CEQA guidelines. There are also several other resource documents that are attached to the staff report for your interest. They're not technically part of the Planning Commission's action, but we did want to bring those to your attention. The first is an initial study preparation guide. The guide is a companion document and will benefit both staff and consultants in preparing initial studies. It's a more comprehensive preparation guide than we've had in the past. There's also the initial study form itself, which is in the format of the CEQA guidelines that the CEQA guidelines requires. It also includes some customized features, including hyperlinks to other key documents that are used in preparing the form. That will hopefully result in better quality documents and certainly make it easier for the preparer. And then finally, there's the Environmental Impact Report format and content guidelines. The document ensures that environmental impact reports are prepared for the city in an organized, consistent, and timely manner. This is actually the first time that the city has had such a document, and it will be useful in ensuring consistency in the format and content of environmental impact reports. So the intent is for these resource documents to be updated administratively to reflect minor clarifications in the future. So changes to those documents wouldn't necessarily be brought back to the commission, whereas changes to the actual rules to implement CEQA would be brought forward to Planning Commission and City Council. So in order to facilitate a timely update of the procedures, the city procured consultant services to assist in this effort. Recon Environmental, Inc. Was selected and provided the city with a document that staff feels is user-friendly and consistent with the guidelines. And we have with us tonight Jennifer Campos of Recon Environmental, who is available to respond to any questions. As you mentioned, as you're opening the item, and this is not a public hearing. It's the noticing was limited to the typical meeting agenda noticing. And with that, staff would recommend that the City Council approve Resolution 2019-32, and thereby recommend that the City Council certify the proposed document that it is exempt from the provisions of CEQA under Section 15061B3 of the CEQA guidelines, and approve 1018-0140, which is the rules to implement CEQA, based on the findings contained in Resolution 2019-32. And with that, I'll open it up to questions of staff.
Thank you. Do we have any questions that, from the commissioners? Well, I have one, or I have more, but so are these documents, are these going to be uploaded on the website so that they can be accessible, the initial study and these kind of things and the procedures and all that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the intent is now that everything is up to date, that we will put it on the website. So it will be a great resource for those who are preparing documents.
And then on the exemptions, I've noticed over the years, those have been a lot, and not saying that's good or bad, but I looked through there, and I do like how how it actually gives some definition to kind of what categorical exemptions are, and it's, some of the stuff is more operational and ministerial than. So I like how it gives a little bit definition, and also, what was it, the reasonableness, what was that section in there? What page is was it 13 or something like that on the exemption? Oh, common sense exemptions. So is that with specificity in the CEQA guidelines, the state preparation, they have certain article and sections that allow a reasonable or a general rule or common sense.
That is correct. They actually tweaked this language slightly with the latest CEQA guidelines update. But what's in our rules to implement CEQA here is basically completely consistent and almost verbatim from the actual CEQA guidelines.
I haven't heard, has that been in place for any extended period of time? I haven't heard that one used in any of the staff presentations for the CEQA, documentation.
It does date back. I mean, typically for development projects, we wouldn't use that exemption. It actually applies more to some things that might go to council, things that are very administrative in nature that don't result in any kind of physical impact to the environment at all. So a lot of what the commission sees doesn't really fall under that exemption.
That's all my comments. Other commissioners have anything they want to?
Have something.
Okay, please.
Write down everything that I look at. We had to go. We had to go and hire a consultant to do what with the wording. What was the purpose of the consultant? To help us to do what with the wording?
Well, they actually drafted all of the documents, so it was a comprehensive update of the procedures. As I think the staff report indicated, we actually hadn't updated our procedures since the early 1990s, so we really needed a comprehensive update. We started out trying to do this effort right before the recession, and because of that, due to the budget, we were not able to bring a consultant on at that time. So we've now back to where we were able to go ahead and proceed with that. And
So with the help of the consultant and the staff, everything now you said is up to date. So when an applicant or the city does project, these are the guidelines that will be used through CEQA.
That's correct. And if there's a major update to the CEQA guidelines in the future, then within 4 months after that update, staff will bring back an amendment. So now that we're on track with a completely up-to-date document, it's possible that staff will be able to just make the changes in the future as other amendments go forward. It's just there were so many changes to CEQA that needed to be brought into these documents. We really needed some expert assistance to help with that.
Great, thank you.
You know, I typically, Raphael, in my past work experience, we would have our attorney firm, they would prepare updates or changes, because there's little knick-knack paddywhacks that change a lot depending on what bills the legislature and stuff is doing. So these are tracked, and typically what the firm that we used to have at my old work, it would be like a pool. They would be, all of us, various public agencies would contribute a little bit of money, and we would all get kind of the update from the attorney. They would just do it for all their clients. So it's something like this where it's a comprehensive, when there's major CEQA stuff, it kind of makes sense to hire a consultant that is expert and is doing it probably for more than just one entity. So you get some kind of economies of scales in the consulting.
I saw a lot of paperwork, a lot of forms now. I mean, it's a lot, and I think about the applicant and the city also. But I'm glad that we had a consultant, and thank you so much, Kirsten, for that.
Will this help eliminate any kind of like legalities that would come up with an applicant when he does, do the project itself? And this way, maybe there won't be so much litigation that somebody can object to. Will it help in that way?
Wow, what a beautiful world that would be.
Oh, so they could still,
No, this is just making the city's guidelines conform with the current state changes. As far as litigation is concerned, I don't suspect that this will change anything as far as that goes, no.
would have been nice.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, doesn't look like there is any. So at this time, if there's any public comment, I don't see any. So if there's no public comments, we can deliberate now. Or we can make a motion. Well, I just, my only comment I would have is I fully support having up-to-date, up-to-snuff policies and procedures so it's consistent, equitable, and fair, and compliant with current state CEQA law. So it's a good job.
The good thing about it is what Commissioner Joanne mentioned was that hopefully we'll have less trouble in the future when those come to debate the CEQA, because we're up to date. So, hopefully we have less problems, but like our attorney said, it's not a perfect world, so we'll see what happens in the future.
Good luck. We have a first or a second?
I'm willing to make the motion. I vote that we approve resolution number 2019-32.
You have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and second. Are we going to try to roll call it? Okay, so we have a first and a second, so roll call, please.
Commissioner Brugaris,
Yes.
Commissioner Stephen,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner DeJeanette,
Yes.
Commissioner Corsick,
Yes?
Vice Chairperson Baker,
Yes.
Chairperson Sims.
Yes. Okay, so that passed unanimously. Is there any staff follow-up on this?
There is none. This will go to City Council for final approval.
All right. Okay. Then there are no public hearings, so Is there any other commissioner business or commission business that we should be aware of tonight?
We don't have anything else on the agenda for commission business now.
Great. Any staff comments?
I do have one staff comment. There's been a little bit of a lull over the summer, but I don't want you to think that there's nothing going on. The planning division staff has a lot of things in process right now, and as we move into fall, you'll start seeing your agendas pick up. There will be quite a bit more coming to you later September and on through the rest of the year.
Does the, I don't want to drag this on, but I do want to ask a question. There's, having been on the commission for, a few years now, there's a lot, it seems like there's a lot of approvals that we do, and, people go through a lot of entitlement effort, and then you don't see any sticks and bricks or dirt flying around on projects. Out of curiosity, I would imagine that I'm sure every project has conditions and there's time and stuff like that. There's a list. Do you guys keep a list of kind of the tracks, all the approvals, and does the city ever reach out to find out what the status is, or we just, once it's approved, that's all on the developer to?
There are different divisions that actually work on that. So we have different lists right now. We're combining them so that we can bring you something that would show you, give you an idea of where some of the past projects that you've approved are in the process. So if you're curious about that, I imagine we'll be bringing you something in the future so that you can start seeing what's going on with those projects.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I remember we did there was a large apartment complex right there at Paris and I think Alessandro, kind of wrapped around the Rite Aid or whatever, Walgreens or whatever that is, and it would go all the way down to where the other apartments were. And I thought, wow, that'd be great. We need more stuff like that. But anyhow, okay. Well, so there will be sometime in the future a list.
We'll bring you information on that.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
All right. Planning Commissioner comments. Well, we're best down to the last line, adjournment. We're going to close this meeting off at 7:27. Have a good evening.